In Los Angeles, detectives have arrested a 57-year-old ex-police mechanic in connection with the murders of 10 people.
At about 9:20, we made an arrest here in the 1700 block of 81st Street of the suspect that has been known to many as the Grim Sleeper. The suspect is Lonnie David Franklin. He's 57 years of age.
The serial killer was dubbed the Grim Sleeper because he took a decade hiatus between murders. The case stumped investigators for more than 20 years and haunted South Los Angeles.
I was just wondering when. I hope I lived long enough to see him get caught. So I'm just happy that that day is here.
Diana Ware's daughter Barbara was among the victims. She was murdered in 1987, her body discovered in a van in an alleyway.
And we just had to come down here to see the area. We were just coming back from police headquarters.
Familial DNA linked the suspect to the crimes. His son was arrested in an unrelated matter and had DNA swabs taken. Those came back as similar to those found in Grim Sleeper killings. Police later matched swabs from his father through a coffee cup at a diner. Police revealed the break to the victims' families.
They did have a match through the DNA, and that's something we're happy about, so they said he won't be going anywhere for a long time.
As crime scene technicians carted off mountains of evidence seized from Franklin's home, neighbors described a man whose persona didn't match that of a serial killer.
Well, as far as I know, he's appeared to be a nice guy, and you wouldn't have never thought, you have a killer in the neighborhood that close. And when I always see him, he's always working on cars. Appeared to be a fairly nice guy.
Of the victims, all but one were women. They were usually shot, strangled, or both. The bodies were often dumped outside. Many of the killings occurred in the 1980s, a period of extreme violence in South Los Angeles. Franklin faces 10 murder charges when arraigned. He could also face the death penalty if convicted. John Moe, The Associated Press, Los Angeles.
Investigators in Los Angeles say they now have a name and a person to go along with a face that's been a mystery to them for more than 2 decades. On Wednesday, police arrested 57-year-old Lonnie David Franklin and say he is the infamous Grim Sleeper. Between 1985 and 2007, 10 black women and 1 black man were either shot or strangled on the streets of South L.A. One survivor, a woman who was sexually assaulted, shot and left for dead in 1988, was able to give police the only description that would become this sketch. Recently, police altered the image to show an older suspect. One depicted what he might look like if he was living well. The other, if he were living a harder life on the streets. No matter how he lived, when the Grim Sleeper killed, he instilled fear, getting the nickname because he took a 14-year break at one point from the murder spree. The only other major lead came the year before, in 1987, when a caller spotted a woman being dumped out of a van.
He threw her out. The only thing that's hanging out of this, he threw a gas tank on top of her, and the only thing you can see out is her feet.
It would be the body of 23-year-old Barbara Ware, who, like many of the other victims, had a history of prostitution or drug addiction. Even with plenty of DNA from the van and some of the other murders, it seemed police were on an endless chase until Lonnie Franklin became a suspect recently. Now the man who used to repair neighborhood cars is in a fix of his own, facing 10 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. If convicted, Lonnie Franklin is eligible for California's death penalty. Gary Anthony Ramsey, Our News Now.
Police say this is the face of a serial killer who's been roaming the streets of South Los Angeles since 1985. There have been at least 11 victims, all African American, most of them young women. Now investigators have 2 new sketches using age enhancement techniques that show 2 very different versions of what the man might look like today.
The center one is depicting what they think he might look like if he's been living the good life, and the one on the far left is one depicting what, if he was on the street or drinking hard or maybe into narcotics.
The suspect has been dubbed the Grim Sleeper because police say he apparently took a 14-year hiatus in his crimes. The sketches are based on the description given by a woman who was brutally assaulted by the man in 1988. Police believe she is the only survivor. Porter Alexander's daughter, Monique, was one of the serial killer's victims. Like many of those victims, Alexander says Monique struggled with a drug problem.
She just turned 18. She said, I'm just going to the store, Dad. I'll be right back. I told her, please come back. I'll be here, and please make sure you come on back. Me and my wife are sitting on the couch. And it's the last time I see my daughter.
Investigators have a 911 call made by someone who reported seeing a man dump a body in this alleyway. One of the victims was later found here. Police say they also have some DNA, but so far, none of these things have turned up a suspect.
We don't know. He could be a family man. We don't know what sets him off. It could be a matter of factors that makes him to go off like that.
Investigators hope the 3 images will prompt someone who knows the man to contact police. Carlotta Bradley, The Associated Press.
Since 1985, a murderer has roamed the streets of South Los Angeles. He's taken the lives of 11 people.
As you know, she just turned 18.
Porter Alexander says his daughter Monique struggled with a drug problem, and police say she was one of those who fell at the hands of a serial killer dubbed the Grim Sleeper.
She said, I'm just going to the store, Dad. I'll be right back. I told her, please come back. I'll be here, and please make sure you come on back. Me and my wife are sitting on the couch. And it's the last time I see my daughter.
He hasn't been found. Los Angeles police have a description from who detectives believe is the only survivor of the killer. Investigators have some DNA, which hasn't linked anyone. The case has hit a dead end, but detectives have this phone call recording from 1987.
Central.
LAPD Police 831.
Yes, I'd like to report a murder or a dead body or something.
Where at?
The address is 1346 East 56th Street in the alley.
The caller had described the Barbara Ware crime scene exactly. It's how responding officers found it and detectives documented it during their investigation.
You know, he threw her out. The only thing is hanging out of this, like he threw a gas tank on top of her, and the only thing you can see out is her feet.
Okay, what's your name?
Huh?
What's your name?
Oh, I don't stand anonymous. I know too many people. Okay then, bye-bye.
All right.
The body, later identified as Barbara Ware, was then covered with trash and a gas tank placed on top.
The caller spotted the killer and told police he saw him dump Barbara Ware's body in this alleyway from this blue van. He even named the license plate.
1PZP746.
Police traced the van to this now defunct church in South Los Angeles. No one inside at the time seemed to know anything. The trail ran cold, and that's why investigators released the emergency call.
A grand prize would be if this caller would come forward and tell us today what exactly he saw and who he saw.
Renewed attention to the crimes and maybe justice for the victims and their families.
Well, it means a great deal to me. It means that they're not just sitting on it now as they did before. It means that the community is becoming more aware of it.
His victims were almost exclusively women. And LA police detectives say he last struck in January of 2007. If you have any information leading to the Grim Sleeper's arrest, please give the Los Angeles Police Department a phone call. John Moan, The Associated Press, Los Angeles.
It's not about justice, it's not about agenda, it's not about mobilizing people, it's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.